Hello everybody and welcome to Tiger Tales, a place where you'll find fanfiction written and read to you by me, your host, Tai Tiger. Now, all copyright doesn't infringe here because all my fanfiction are original pieces of material and I don't breach any form of copyright. So, I'm all good. Let's dive into Power Rangers Future Foundation, where the last chapter was circling around Chloe and we learn more about Chloe and her famous mother, Kira Ford. Let's dive in to this chapter, where we find out a bit about our in-space Pink Ranger and the troubles that her life ensues. So let's dive in to Power Rangers Future Foundation, Chapter 11, Pink Ranger with Problems. Amy sat there and sighed as she waited. The halls were busy and very loud. She didn't like staring at the white floor. All the children decorated walls. A nurse then came in and called for Amy. She stood up and followed the nurse down the hall and into a room where her mother laid, a heart rate monitor beeping. Amy sat next to her mother, who was in a coma. "Hey, it's Amy. Guess what? I helped the Rangers again today. It was absolutely insane. I can't believe I'm doing it. It's bananas," Amy whispered. Amy smiled at her mother and tears filled her eyes. She held her mother's hand and squeezed it tightly. She waited for the moment and held her breath, waiting for her mother to squeeze back, but nothing happened. Again. She let go, wiping her tears, and then she left the room. Amy left the hospital. She rolled down the street on her heels. She then stopped and walked into a small store. She grabbed some groceries and paid for them. Then she walked home. She walked into the house and placed her bag on its hook and walked into the kitchen to unpack the food. She then walked into the living room where she found her half-brother and her stepfather. "Where you been?" her stepfather belched. He sat in front of the TV with a can of beer in his hand. "Shopping," Amy snapped. "Good. Did you get beer?" her stepfather asked. "No, I actually brought actual food," Amy snapped back. "Well, tomorrow, get beer," her stepfather growled. "Go get it yourself," Amy spat. "Hey, don't talk to Dad like that," her younger brother said as he stood up and got Amy's face. "Well, use your head, dipstick. I'm 15, I can't buy alcohol," Amy said sarcastically. I do not have an argument for that," her brother said sadly, then slumped into his chair. Amy scowled and walked away. She headed into her room and slammed the door behind her, and she slouched onto her bed and put the TV on. The news reporter started rambling. Suddenly, her stepdad came barging in. "Oi, you little git, stop slamming doors. It's not your house. You're lucky you're in here, aren't you? So behave," her stepfather roared. "Back off, you jerk. If Mum was here then," Amy snapped. "Well, she's not here, is she?" her stepfather said, cutting her off. He left the room and stormed away. "Stupid little jerk," Amy muttered through her teeth. She then turned to the TV where the reporter was talking about the Power Rangers. "And here we are with the Power Rangers fighting a saxophone-like monster in a car park of one of our local superstores," the reporter said. Amy smiled as she saw herself working with the Rangers. "I'm doing something that means something," Amy whispered. Amy curled up into her bed and watched the sunset, and eventually she fell asleep. The next day she woke up and got herself ready, showered, dressed, and had breakfast. She made her brother a sandwich, wrapped it up and placed it in the fridge. She wrote his name on a note and placed it on top of the sandwich, just to make sure her stepfather didn't steal it. She then put on her trainers, grabbed her backpack, and left the house. Due to the school break, her days were empty of activity. She spent most of the time at the hospital or at the roller park. Amy headed down the road and down to the hospital. She rolled through the hospital car park. She rode past an ambulance where she saw a man on the floor. She paused and then rolled her eyes. She rolled to him and bent down to the fallen man's aid. "Yo, dude, are you okay?" Amy asked. "I'm swell," the man growled. Then, with a swift spin, the man swung his foot and kicked Amy off her feet. Amy landed on her back with a hard thud. She jumped up to her feet. The man stood to reveal himself to be Service. "Service," Amy growled. "Hello, newbie. Now, how are you going to call for help again?" Service asked with a smirk. "I can take you on my own," Amy snapped. She dropped into her fighting stance. I ain't here to merely batter some child. I got a better idea," Service said. He pulled out the black bone pistol and held it to his lips. Let the channel of fear form. Let the monster, my creation, be born, Service whispered. Service then aimed the pistol at the ambulance and pulled the trigger. The energy bolt hit the ambulance and it started changing form and mutating. Then the monster stood in front of Amy. It was a humanoid with a huge square body taking resemblance of an ambulance. It had no head, but there was a windscreen had a terrorizing face, with the 2 sirens on top. Meet Behemoth, Service grinned. Then Service waved to Amy and then teleported away. Oh, time to save some people. Save them from safety, Behemoth grunted. Then his siren started flashing. Then 2 lasers came from the siren lights, which bolted at cars and other ambulances. People started screaming and running away. Amy pushed past the crowds of rushing civilians. Oi, dipstick! Over here, Amy called out. Behemoth turned around to face her. Leave the hospital alone, Amy growled. Her stomach turned. She knew she had to protect the hospital because her mother was inside. Oh, right, yeah, that's right. You're a ranger, aren't you? Behemoth asked. Yeah, time to kick it to pink, Amy yelled. She then revealed her Astro Morpher and held out her hand. Let's rock it, yo, Amy called out. She flipped open her Morpher and pressed the 3 buttons. 3, 3, 5, her Morpher said as she pressed the buttons. Then in a flash of light, Amy morphed. In space, Pink Ranger, Amy called out as she dropped into her fighting stance. Let's get it, Behemoth called out. Then he ran at the Pink Ranger at full force and ran into her. The Ranger was thrown across the ground like she was hit by a truck. Behemoth then set off his sirens again. Lasers fired from the spinning red and blue lights, hitting the Pink Ranger. She got to her feet quickly and ran at Behemoth. She roundhouse kicked the monster, then jabbed him a few times in the centre of his torso. Then she swept her foot under Behemoth and tripped him over. The monster rolled and staggered back to his feet. Ah, you're nothing but a bad wound, Behemoth grunted. But then the monster ran at the Pink Ranger at full speed once again. The Pink Ranger rolled to one side, dodging the attack, and the ambulance monster stopped and turned around, just to run back, this time smacking the Pink Ranger head on. Then Behemoth grabbed the Pink Ranger by the shoulder, holding her tight. The Pink Ranger tried to struggle out of the monster's grip. Then Behemoth slapped her in the chest and then let go of the Ranger. The Pink Ranger looked down to see a huge plaster on her chest. You placed a plaster on me? The Pink Ranger said with confusion. Yep, Behemoth growled. Then the sirens of the monster's head went off and the plaster exploded, causing great damage to the Pink Ranger.
Hey there, podcast listener. You enjoying what you're listening to? Well then, do I got a special treat for you. Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637. That's me. I'm your host. And I like to tell you stories. Stories that I personally enjoy. So, buckle up, get comfortable, because we're going on a wild ride.
In the park's dojo, hey guys, we got an alert, CJ called out as the warning sign appeared on CJ's screen. The 3 Rangers surrounded CJ. What's going on, girl? Luca asked. We got another mass reading. They all seem to be demonic in nature, CJ told them. So like Lucican, they're all actual demons? Like Diabolico? Chloe asked. I'm afraid so, CJ said. As she typed on to her keyboard, the camera feed appeared on the screen, revealing the in-space Pink Ranger fighting an ambulance monster outside the hospital. It seemed like the ambulance monster was trying to get to the hospital building, and the Pink Ranger was trying to stop it. She needs help, CJ said as she turned to face the Rangers. Consider us on the job, Dante said. The 3 Rangers hit their communicators and the 3 Rangers teleported away. The 3 Rangers teleported into the fight as the Pink Ranger was thrown into automatic doors that made the entrance to the hospital building. It's morphin' time, Dante called out. Dante held out his morpher. Mastodon, he called. His morpher then popped open. Time force, Luca called out. He crossed his wrist, then pressed his chrono morpher. Dino Thunder, power up, ha! Look, Chloe called out. She opened the mouthpiece of a morpher, then pressed the button. In a flash of light, the 3 Rangers stood there. Behemoth turned to see a blue, a black, and a yellow Ranger stood in their fighting stances. Leave her alone, the Black Ranger called out. Okay, I guess I have to pay attention to you guys now, Behemoth yelled. Behemoth ran at the 3 Rangers and smashed all 3 of them, knocking them all over the place. Now stay down, Behemoth screamed. Then Behemoth ran at the hospital, heading straight for the building. No! The Pink Ranger screamed. She dived in front of the charging monster, taking the full brunt of the attack. The monster stopped in its tracks as it collided with the Pink Ranger. The Ranger hit the ground hard. Jesus! The Pink Ranger grunted. She stood slowly and her stance wavered. Got a death wish or something, Ranger? The Behemoth asked. No, the Pink Ranger grunted. "Oh, I get it. You're trying to protect somebody," Bohemian said. "Yeah, I am, and I ain't letting you get to this building," the Pink Ranger grunted as she dropped to her fighting stance, her legs shaking. Then the three Rangers jumped to her side. "And she ain't alone," the Yellow Ranger said. "You're nothing but pests," Bohemian growled. Then his sirens went off and lasers flew at the Rangers. The Blue Ranger jumped back and summoned his Vortex Blaster. He dropped to one knee, took aim, and then pulled the trigger, hitting Bohemian. Then the Black Ranger ran at the monster with his power axe. He slashed down, then across, then he kicked, and then side-kicked, then roundhouse kicked the monster. Bohemian stumbled into the Yellow Ranger, who slashed the monster in the back with her Patera grips. Then she jumped up and jabbed her grips multiple times into the monster's back. She then flipped over the ambulance with legs, and then she landed and jumped up and kicked the monster in the face with all her force. Then the Pink Ranger dived in. She jabbed the monster a few times before she kicked him. She then pulled out the satellite stunner and placed the tip of the blaster against the monster, then pulled the trigger. The monster went flying back, and the Pink Ranger's rings exploded as they hit the monster. "All together now," the Black Ranger called out. Then the Black Ranger dropped to his stance. Then the Blue Ranger aimed his Vortex Blaster. The Black Ranger switched his power axe to the blaster mode and took aim. Then the Pink Ranger aimed her satellite stunner. All three Rangers pulled their triggers. All three blasters shot at Behemoth. The monster got hit by all three attacks. Then the Red Ranger jumped high and glided into the monster, and glide kicked it in the chest. The monster flew back to the ground, and in sparks the monster exploded into nothing. "Rangers, that was good teamwork," CJ's voice said, coming through the communicators. "Thanks, CJ," the Black Ranger replied. Suddenly, Service appeared holding his black bone pistol. He frowned at the Rangers, then took his pistol to his lips. "For those who have fallen, give those a second chance," Service whispered into the pistol. Then he aimed the pistol high and pulled the trigger. A small red bolt of energy shot into the sky and exploded into a giant behemoth. Then the mysterious tune appeared. Then the Rangers could see Logan stood on the ambulance, playing his black knife flute. Suddenly the three Wild Zords came from the sky running down to the ground. There was the Alligator Wild Zord, the Hammerhead Wild Zord, and the White Tiger Wild Zord. "Wild Zords, combine," Logan called out. The alligator's back legs stretched out to become humanoid legs. Its front legs folded backwards to allow the Hammerhead and the White Tiger Wild Zord to allow them to detach themselves to become arms. The alligator's head folded down, revealing the Megazord head. Logan jumped into the Megazord and entered the cockpit. He then placed the black knife flute into the cockpit and took control of the Megazord. The Megazord punched Behemoth in the chest with its Hammerhead fist, then again with its Tiger fist. Then it slashed the Hammerhead fist down, slicing Behemoth, then uppercutted Behemoth with the Tiger fist. "Let's try something new," Logan whispered. Then the Megazord grabbed its double blade made from the tails of the Alligator Wild Zord and the Hammerhead Wild Zord. It then swung the blade down across Behemoth's chest. Then the alligator's blade started rotating and hit Behemoth. Then Behemoth ran at the Megazord at full speed. The Megazord staggered backwards. Then the Megazord threw its blade at the charging Behemoth. The monster stopped and fell backwards. "Final attack! Let's go!" Logan called out. The Megazord's three mouths opened, and the three massive energy lasers erupted from each mouth, hitting Behemoth. The monster fell and exploded. Logan jumped out of the Megazord, and the Zords disappeared. Logan looked at the three Rangers and said, "Nothing." He just walked away. "Logan, why don't you talk to us, man?" the Blue Ranger yelled. Logan stopped. "I told you, I ain't part of your Ranger team. I'm just here to help. I'm here to do the big work. Like now." "And that was too easy," Logan said as over his shoulder, then he left. The four Rangers demorphed and Luca threw his hands in the air. "Man, screw this dude. We don't even know him," Luca yelled in anger. And then Amy sighed and turned away from the Rangers and headed for the hospital. She had to make sure her mother was okay. "And where are you going?" Luca snapped and grabbed Amy's arm. "Get off me, dude," Amy yelled and pulled herself away. "He has a point. Why do you keep running off? You barely talk to us," Chloe asked. "None of your business," Amy snapped. "Hey, easy, everyone chill out," Dante chirped as he stepped between the teenager and his two friends. Amy, Chloe does have a point here. We don't know you, and we could be a really good team, but you keep running off before we get a chance. And God knows where you're going, Dante said gently. Fine, you really want to know? Okay, I come here every day for 2 reasons. 1, to escape my drunk stepdad who loves getting in my face and my half-brother who's thick as a wooden door. And the other reason is because my mother's in a coma. That's why we moved here, because the best doctors and the equipment are here, Amy yelled, tears rolling down her cheek. I'm sorry, Dante muttered. How did she fall into a coma? Chloe asked. When the Armada attacked the Rangers, all over the place, Rangers came to help. They even saved normal folk, but they didn't get to everyone. Some people were never saved, including my mother. She's been in a coma for years. No one gives a crap, Amy yelled. Amy looked at each one of the Rangers, her Ranger team. Then she wiped her tears from her face and walked away, heading to the hospital, leaving the 3 Rangers stood there, feeling bad and a little guilty. In the place of that time and space, William removed another black piece, leaving only 4 more black pieces on the board. Sir, you're down to 4 black pieces. Lucicon only has the energy to make 2 more monsters. He can make with demon energy, the Ranger commented. Keep running your mouth, and I will remove you and put you back to where you came from, William growled, without moving his gaze from the chessboard. But like I said, he's due a reset soon. His powers will change, William said. He then stood up and went to his carving table. He picked up a chess piece that was not yet painted. It was just a wooden piece, resembling a warrior guarding something. William took the piece and tossed it off the floating rock platform that he was stood on. Good riddance, William whispered. He then walked up to the gauntlet which was charging on the next table. Alpha, process report, William said. Suddenly, the gauntlet projected a hologram of a robotic head. Yes, sir, the process is at 67%, Alpha Prime told him. And what about our other functions we have in place? William asked. All the other functions have been paused or negated, Alpha Prime explained. Wait, even our mind blocks? William asked with venom in his words. Yes, sir, Alpha Prime confirmed. Can we reactivate them? Like, now? William snapped. Checking, sir. Yes, we can. Would you like me to activate the mind blocks we have in our selected personnel? Alpha Prime asked. Yes, please, William sighed. William sat there for a minute and took a deep breath as the quick hit of panic was decimated to nothing. He then started to tinker with Alpha Prime once more. There you have it, guys. We have Chapter 11 of Power Rangers Future Foundation. Now, I just want to quickly use this time to shout out a few people. Zero to Hero is a podcast run by Billy and Jim. They are big Power Ranger nerds, and they are some awesome dudes. And they've had me on there 2 times now. They have so many people, and they're all Power Ranger fans, but they also bring in other fandoms, which is great. We have Baker Ranger Movie Talks with Ben. He talks a lot about different movies, new, old, strange, random movies you've never heard of, and that's also very fun too. We have Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger with Nerd Through Comics, and I'm also working with him on his stuff. And we have Willie, Cosplay Dude 637, and I'm also working with him on his stuff, his fairy tale as well. So make sure you go check out everyone on Zero Hero Network. Everyone has TikTok, everyone has a Spotify somehow. I think most of them have a YouTube channel as well. You can go find them all, they're all fantastic. And don't forget to subscribe here. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I shall see you all very, very soon.